Behavior Interactive, the creators of the indie multiplayer horror game Dead by Daylight, have created a system of perfect imbalance. This concept being that a title should never perfectly be balanced in terms of power between characters. The developers have done something truly remarkable with the core gameplay loop of 4 real humans versus 1 real killer. Today, as we dive into the Wisdom Wormhole, we look at the interesting David vs. Goliath design of Dead by Daylight. Here we go. The survivor's main goal is to escape an arena populated by 7 generators. These said generators power the gates to let them escape the area. During this time, the killer is trying to down players and place them on giant meat hooks, feeding them to a giant nightmare spider. When looking at the balance of the game from the outside in, Dead by Daylight looks completely broken. There is no way for the survivors to do damage to the killer. The killer is always faster than the survivors, even if they're sprinting. Speaking of sprinting, when a survivor runs, they leave a glowing red trail, a giant path leading the killer to their general position. The killer is faster than the survivors, stronger than the survivors, and any pallet or obstacle the players can try to use to stop said killer can be overcome easily. Yet, Behavior Interactive has done something incredibly smart. They have given the survivors access to a few key mechanics that, if used correctly, can tip the balance of power just so slightly so that they might live. Keep in mind that survivors never really win, they just escape, like some games that give the players a way to fight back. There is no winning outright in Dead by Daylight, so giving any mechanic too much power could break the game. Which brings me to my first point, the camera. As a killer, your viewpoint is limited to the first person. You have an extremely limited perspective in the murk of the arenas. On the other hand, the survivors can see in third person, allowing them access to the one aspect of the game that gives them an edge. The survivors always have much more information about their surroundings than the killer. This allows them to do some crazy moves if they understand the first-person perspective of the killer. Ducking behind corners and obstacles, behind rocks, or any other point of cover gives such a feeling of accomplishment. I'd argue that Dead by Daylight is one of the best stealth games of the past few years. I mean, the whole point of a stealth game is to remain undetected. The survivor's camera allows such gameplay to take place, putting intellect up against raw strength. Another way the developers give the survivors more information about their environment is the heartbeat system. When the killer gets within a certain radius of the survivors, a heartbeat will start. Then it will quickly build into a tension-filled score as the killer nears the player. Now, some players are set into a panic over this, bolting at the first thump of a heartbeat. Others use it to keep tabs on where the killer is, hiding when they know the killer is closing in on their generator, and keeping themselves safe. Again, giving situational awareness to the player, allowing them to play off one of the killer's only weaknesses, the first-person camera. Finally, the survivors have access to their greatest weapon, or potentially their biggest weakness. Teammates. A teammate can save you from the killer's hook. They can help you with a generator, or they can miss one of the Dead by Daylight skill checks, causing a player that they were healing to scream, or making a generator blow up in a shower of sparks that alerts the killer to the survivor's exact location. Again, and again, and again. Behavior Interactive is smart, though. The developers have even planned for you to have bad teammates. Those that get killed in the opening seconds or refuse to work on generators because they are too afraid and get killed off. Those players can be worked around. There is a mechanic in the game called the hatch. It opens when there is one survivor left and at least 2 generators have been done, usually spawning in a random location on the map. The hatch allows for a quick escape without having to open a gate. Even though it's random, the hatch allows for a skilled survivor to find it quickly, from the loud noise it makes while it opens to the windy whistle one hears as they approach it. Not to say the survivors have an advantage in Dead by Daylight, they don't. The killer is a dominant force which can destroy an entire team with their terrifying abilities and skill. However, the survivors aren't way underpowered. Behavior Interactive has created something truly special, making the survivors a scrappy band, trying to get out of the clutches of a ruthless psycho, creating, in my opinion, the closest thing to what it would be like in an 80s horror movie. Dead by Daylight is a great example of how to implement mechanics that play off each other, that give fun and interesting scenarios, without being balanced at all. Thanks for diving into the Wisdom Wormhole. So long.